Hey y'all, it's Orlando. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast episode are those of the co-hosts and guests and not their sponsoring institutions. Now, let's start the show. Hello, Detroit and the world. Welcome back to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from the Lower East Side, sponsored by the Ford Foundation, now a content partner to bridgedetroit.com. I am Orlando Bailey.
And I'm Donna Davidson.
Thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people on the East Side of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. We drop a new episode every week, so be sure to turn on those notifications. Joining us today is Maggie DeSantis. Maggie DeSantis is one of the founders of the Eastside Community Network, formerly known as the Warren Connor Development Coalition, where she served as president and CEO for over 30 years until she transitioned back in 2016 to start a new initiative entitled Building the Engine of Community Development. And there is some news happening with that initiative. She's also one of Donna and I's greatest teachers in community development. Maggie DeSantis, welcome back to Authentically Detroit.
Thank you so much, both of you. It's great to be here, as long as you're nice to me. I'm a little bit scared.
You did say that she was one of our greatest teachers. And the only thing I don't remember Maggie teaching is nice. Yeah. I don't know, maybe I missed that lesson.
I missed Davis. I don't know what it was for the nice class.
I think that we named a Truth to Power award after Maggie, and if she taught us nothing, it's truth to power.
That's why I'm scared.
Conversation.
That is why I'm scared. You two know me too well. If I'm your teacher, you know your teacher.
Yeah, we know you very well. Donna, listen, I am excited to be back. We recorded last week, but we were both serving in different capacities on the Building the Engine forum, which served as our episode for last week. But we haven't had an episode together for real in a few weeks. I miss you, Donna Givens.
I miss you too. And we haven't been able to celebrate our most recent support from the Skillman Foundation. Vaulted Youth Voices. We are now in a position to help our young people. Orlando, am I jumping ahead?
No, go for it.
Vaulted Youth Voices. One thing about Warren Connor has always been about authentic voices, giving people voice, and young people were some of the first people we gave voice to. But this platform is really ready-made for young people to take advantage of, to really talk about what they care about. One of the things that we did on Saturdays, we had our Eastside Summit. Mm-hmm. And so we had young people who did a survey at Southeastern High School. And one of the things they talked about was the school to factory pipeline at Southeastern. And they said, nobody asked us what we wanted when they said they were going to build this here. And the kind of things they wanted were interesting. The number one thing was driver's training. Who knew?
Wow. Young people were ready to drive a car at that time.
They're looking for leadership development, and we're going to have to bring them on as part of our authentic youth voice conversation. But it really speaks to the fact that our young people have something to say, and we are now going to give them the platform so that people are required to listen. They'll be coming on our show once a month, sponsored by Skillman Foundation. And then the intervening months, if Orlando and I are not already the most tired people, I'm so tired right now. We're going to get together once a month, and we're going to mentor them, and we're going to train them. We're going to bring in some friends that we can help them understand not just the world from their view, but help them understand certain things that they have not been exposed to. And then they can teach us certain things that we haven't been exposed to, a great exchange. So I'm really excited about more work, and I don't know why. I think I'm going crazy. It's like, what is going on, Donna? Do less.
This is going to be good work. And one of the things that you didn't say is that we're going to be meeting with these young people on the weekends. So we're giving up a Saturday a month to make intentional investments in our young people, but also to put ourselves in a position to be invested in by our young people. I think I'm more excited about what they're going to teach us than what we're going to be able to teach them.
Always, listen, years ago when I was at Big Brothers Big Sisters and Charlanda was there, we had a Saturday mentoring group. And I learned all kinds of cool things from young people. Like I learned what flossing was. And I was walking around, I was so sweet. I knew the vocabulary, right? Because they would teach us stuff. We had this little game we would play where everybody had to bring their favorite song and talk about why it was their favorite song. And so they brought their favorite songs and I had to listen to them. And it was really instructional for me and helped me grow as a human being. But I had to unlearn some things. So anyway, I'm excited.
Oh man, it is. We record on Tuesday evenings, and it's like we said, it's been a while since Donna and I have recorded together. I know that we're excited about the opportunity to be taught and to teach our young folks. Thanks to Skillman for that sponsorship. But we're also excited to just be back together again. How have you been, Donna?
I feel really good. I feel like I'm doing things that matter. And I've reflected back on my life at times when I have not been as fulfilled as I am. But I'm also really, really tired. We had a really wonderful weekend where we poured into the community on Friday and Saturday and, had pretty good attendance on a Friday and Saturday in December. And then on Sunday, I was on this panel and then,
Sunday?
Yeah, for Voters Not Politicians, they are launching their 501c3. And so they were looking for one of their deep community engagement organizations. And then, of course, on Monday, it was my last day teaching. So today, I am feeling well used. How are you?
Oh, God, it made me tired just listening to all that. Oh, my goodness.
I'm doing well. I was abroad in Paris. And I cannot wait to have Lauren Hood and Chase Cantrell on next week to talk about the Institute for Afro-Urbanism, a new initiative that Lauren Hood has started, and the funds that she raised to be able to take a group of Detroiters to Paris to, look at Black thriving and why so many of our American luminaries like a Josephine Baker, Richard Wright, and Langston Hughes, and James Baldwin, the list goes on, retreated to Paris for respite and for reprieve and for inspiration. And Josephine Baker, while we were there, was being inducted into the Pantheon. And so we had the opportunity to witness that induction ceremony. And it was, just a rich time. More on that later, but it was an amazing time. Suffice it to say, I got back last Sunday and hit the ground running. And so I think I crashed a little bit this past Sunday. This past Sunday made a week since I've been back home. And I did give myself an extra day to allow for the time change and the jet lag. And so I had been going. Sunday, I was out. I did absolutely nothing. So I feel a little bit more well-rested than you, Donna, but still busy because Maggie got me doing stuff. We'll talk about that.
Oh, boy.
It's good to see you. How are you doing?
I am doing well, too. Thank you. I feel nothing but gratitude. I think partly because I'm now a survivor of the 2 C's. I'm a cancer survivor 9 years, and I'm a COVID survivor.
Yeah.
And, so I'm grateful for my health, but I also feel like in this last part of my career, to be able to be doing the kind of work I'm doing, to be well compensated for it, to feel like I'm still useful is really kind of amazing. And then on top of all that,
compensation.
Yeah, I know. But I get to work out of my home on the canal. Donna and I are neighbors. And so I get to walk downstairs every morning as the sun is rising and get to take walks as the sun is rising. And just to be able to be part of that is just amazing. So thank you. And then my daughter only lives 5 blocks away. So she's really close. She's doing similar work. I'm proud of her. So I have no complaints.
That's really good to hear. That's really good to hear. It's been a tumultuous week. I think last week at this time I was dealing with Don. I don't know if I had the opportunity to talk to you about this. My dad in congestive heart failure. Talking about surviving the seas, he is currently surviving that sea. Maggie DeSantis, congestive heart failure. He was finally discharged, and so working from the hospital room with him, beside him last week, and him finally being discharged and well enough to go home. I'm happy that he is recovering. A lot of our colleagues on the Building the Engine Forum who were panelists and commentators had the opportunity to hear a little bit about that. So I wanted to give everybody an update to say Dad's doing okay. He is.
That's good. That's good.
Well, I'm really, really glad to hear that he's doing okay. I think I had to join late. I had a conflict earlier, so I missed that part. But I'm dealing with hospitals is no joke right now, though. I just got a notice right before we came on here that my aunt is in the hospital, and she is 91 years old, and possible heart attack, but they can't get her in a bed. She's in a bed, but she's in the hallway. They can't get her in a room. So it is very disappointing what we're seeing going on right now. And now that, we have Omicron and whatever that means for Marianne, that's right. Let's call it, or so someone said Omarosa. Now that we're dealing with, this new variant. It's just, one of those times where you are both thankful to be alive and very conscious of what that means. I think about that all of the time, that, this is the opportunity to do what you're going to do, and it will not be forever. So glad to hear your dad's recovering, though.
Yeah. But the experience sort of laid bare for me at the time. Number one, the way that Black people, period, have to advocate to healthcare professionals around their health and around treatment, right? My father did not feel listened to, and was really losing his patience with the hospital staff. And thank goodness I was there to sort of break that hardness and exercise a little bit more patience, but also a little bit more rigidness as well, to say, hey, this is his routine. This is what he knows to do. These are the medications that he is already on. You guys need to make sure that
we have to be. We have to be careful when our loved ones go into the hospital, because when they go into the hospital, we end up, a lot of times having to serve as their advocates. And so it's not just a neutral kind of situation. And, I really am concerned about people who don't. But the other thing that's been really hitting me this past week is the number of people who are dying who are young. And we don't talk about it. We know COVID's there. We know that COVID kills. And there's almost this conspiracy of silence, because nobody wants to ask, what is the COVID status of somebody? Were they vaccinated? And yet we know there are unvaccinated people who are dying. And the question is, are we learning from this? And there's two aspects to it. One of them is that there are excess deaths for non-COVID reasons right now, because people are not getting the medical care that they used to get. And to the extent people used to comply, they're even less compliant. And the other part of it is that people are getting COVID, maybe not catching it soon enough to get the monoclonal antibodies and do the kind of things they need to help ward off the serious illness. And so rather than not talking about it, I think we need to talk about it more. Now we talk about the variants and we talk about things like that, and vaccine versus not vaccine, and it's my body and you can't tell me what to do. Versus, I hope you don't clog up our hospitals. So we're in these wars, but we're not in conversation. So right now, today and tomorrow, we're actually having focus groups where we are talking to folks to better understand what's going on. What is the thinking? What is going to motivate people, so we can try to move that needle a little bit. And I'm not going to sit in the focus groups for obvious reasons, because first of all, I don't have a poker face. And secondly, I'm not neutral on this topic. I might start telling people off, like kill the vibe.
I think that's really smart, Donna.
Not to be in those. All right, guys, it is time for our new segment, Hot Takes, where we run down some of the week's top headlines in the city of Detroit. Today's Hot Takes, Duggan to nominate deputy mayor to serve as Detroit's next top lawyer. Donna Givens Davison, what say you?
Oh, Conrad Mallett, is being nominated by Duggan. So we know that the former Lawrence Garcia stepped down. I'm not going to say in disgrace, but certainly in dispute with many people in the community, and some would love to disgrace him. And he's gone back into private practice where he can make more money. And he says, listen, I'm trying to save up my money, whatever, good riddance. But now we have Conrad Mallett stepping in. And I knew it was going to be a tough time for the mayor to get somebody through because you have a brand new city council and they're going to ask the tough questions. But I have to admit, I think Conrad Mallett is a difficult person to really challenge, in that he has so much respect in the community. And maybe I'm wrong. He, as the mayor pointed out, he's a former Supreme Court justice. And he said, what other city in America can say that their corporation counsel is a former Supreme Court justice? So it certainly makes for good headlines. I don't know what that means in terms of the quality of his work. And then Conrad Mallett was saying, when was quoted saying something like, and I don't have the exact quote, let me try to paraphrase it. And Orlando, you can check me if I'm wrong, but something like, I want the citizens of Detroit to know I'm acting on their behalf. And it almost felt like a direct rebuke of Garcia, or at least a way of him, just, stepping out in front of the concerns that people have, that the corporation counsel has sometimes felt like the mayor's private attorney.
Maggie, what do you think about this appointment? Sort of musical chairs right now happening within the mayor's office. We see him move folks around pretty often. He doesn't get rid of a lot of folks. He just sort of kind of moves them around.
Yeah, musical appointments. Yeah. So let me just say, I just learned about this, and there's a part of me that was shocked, and another part of me that was not, because of what you just said, Orlando. Conrad is a great guy. He's got this depth of experience, but geez, I wish we could get new, fresh faces, younger faces in these positions. And it just, sometimes it feels to me as if there's too much appointing of folks who are really never going to disagree with the mayor.
But is that an age thing?
That's a great question.
I mean,
I think partly it is. Donna.
Kimberly Rustam is the Office of Civil Rights. She's not young. I mean, she's not old.
No, and I'm not saying all his appointees are old, but there's a lot of, it's the same reason I was frustrated with Anthony Adams running for mayor, as much as I appreciate him. I just feel like I feel like those are the folks who should be mentoring younger people like Orlando, like you, Donna, to hold these offices.
I am definitely a younger person. Thank you for that.
You are.
Orlando and I are the same age. And I cloned myself and had Camille. No, I think that the thing I'm saying is, I think age is an issue, and we definitely need to mentor people. I think that the mayor has pulled in young people. I think the mayor has pulled in people who are a little bit older, but I think that the challenge is, are there people who are really going to challenge the mayor's perspective?
Yes.
So, and will they have the power to? You had a person like Charity Dean, who definitely seems like she would be a challenge working for the mayor. And she was in the Office of Civil Rights, but she's a relatively young person, not as young as me, but young. Last moment. But she's a young person, right? And then she was replaced by Kimberly Rustam, who is another young person. And so I look at the fact that we're not really looking at age. What we're looking at is ideas and perspectives and the need to diversify that. And so I agree with you that we can get younger people in. I'm really interested to see who the new chief of staff is going to be.
Yeah, if Alexis' position really was chief of staff, are you talking about Alexis Wiley?
I don't mean chief of staff. I'm sorry, he has a chief of staff. I meant deputy mayor. Who is going to be the new deputy mayor?
You want to take some bets?
Well, Maggie, who do you think?
Well, I can't name a person, but I think it's going to be someone who already works there. It's the same, the musical appointee kind of syndrome. So
Let
it's
me
going to be someone who's got a great public
folks have been
face.
around longer than I have. Let me ask you this question, because I think there are rumblings that this is going to be Mayor Duggan's last term in office. In your experience for a two-term mayor, or a mayor that has more than 2 terms, I think the only other mayor in recent history has been Comey Young. Do you see a lot of turnover in that last term, as folks get ready to think about what may be next, in case the mayor doesn't plan on running again, just in terms of job security or
how have our mayors left office? Archer left, and it was a big surprise, wasn't it, Maggie? It was like, oh, I'm not running again. And it was
that was really surprising.
Right.
So
then
was
you
really
had 2 candidates. When Mayor Young left, it felt like nobody had been groomed to replace him. And then you had Archer and McPhail coming out, and then Archer left it with just like no notice. And you had Gil Hill and Kwame Kilpatrick, and then Kwame Kilpatrick didn't leave by choice, we'll say, right? Yeah. And then you had the ill-fated temporary appointment of
Ken Cockrell.
And then he was replaced by an ill-fated election in Dave Bing, who really just did not have the political experience and the leadership experience, I think, to take on that kind of position. I'm just being honest, a lot of things didn't seem to go well. So it doesn't feel like we've had a lot of mayors who have left and governed with the kind of intentionality of saying, who will replace me?
Yeah, and it feels to me like we need some kind of a pathway or a system to fix that. I don't know. You guys know Steve Tabachman, right?
Yeah.
For a minute, one of the things he was doing, he created some kind of a program that really groomed. What was it? I can't remember it now, but
it's still there.
Is it? Yeah, and to really help people take on the responsibilities of elected office. I think it was primarily focused on state legislation, but I wish there could be some kind of a local mayoral city council political academy of some kind, because
we used to have the Shrine of the Black Madonna, and the Shrine of the Black Madonna operated in the background like a background program, and most of the people who you saw running for elected positions in Detroit has some connections to the Shrine. Most of the people who actually served in deputy and director positions around the city had some type of connection to the Shrine. And that was really the way that Black Power got built up. Now you have Steve Tabachman, but he has not necessarily been building a cadre of Black leaders.
He has not, no.
Development Coalition.
There's always the University of Warren Counter, but that means that people like you two and others need to jump in there and run for office. I'm going to be harping on this.
Maggie, you could dream new dreams. Dream new dreams for the two of us.
That's I was not blessed with that, the temperament or the desire to do that ever. I'm a political science major, and my dream was always to be the power behind the throne. When I was in college, I was like going to help run somebody and help them figure out what to do. I had never wanted to be in center stage like that. That's somebody else's job. And, but I think that there's an opportunity for that. I see a lot of people running for office, and I always have ideas about what they could do better. And so maybe Orlando and I will get together and we'll help create a school and train people, right? That's one of the dreams I have, as really just trying to figure out how to help people shape a message, shape a platform, how to help them build interest groups, things like that you can see people doing wrong. And it's like, oh, why did they try this?
Yeah. And somehow fundraising has to be a part of it, because I think the lack of viable candidates is affected by where all the political money is going.
But Barack Obama became president and all the money was going to pensions. The reality is that if you know how to work your social media, you can generate funds through social media. There's so many ways to do it. It's really somebody running a compelling campaign and really knowing how to reach people. I think they can overcome that. You're not going to get GM money. You're not going to get the big PAC money, but you can create your own. And as the PACs see that you have your own momentum, they're going to follow suit at least a little bit.
But still, the use of social media to raise dollars effectively, that needs to be the academy you guys are going to set up to groom the next several generations of
I'm a
mayors for the
journalist. I don't
city of
know if I
Detroit.
can participate.
He's a journalist, but that's a job. It's not an identity.
It
okay,
is,
so
but
you can
it's
change jobs, but no, we have to, because he didn't used to be. He was always been a journalist, but you don't always have to work in that. But I think that whoever it is, because you're going to need people who are journalists. Look, one of the successes of Mayor Duggan is he surrounds himself with journalists.
oh my
Show
gosh,
me
yeah,
how many
he's
no
a
mayor
master.
has had more journalists work for him than Mayor Duggan.
Well, and you can set the messaging. He is a master at the messaging.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, it's really kind of amazing. And that's what I'm talking about. There's there are so many good people out here. I wish
Do
they
you
would
think
run.
we're going to see some interesting politics and tension with this new progressive leaning city council
Yeah.
is coming into power that doesn't look like it'll be a rubber stamp for Mayor Duggan's agenda like the previous council. What are you guys thinking about that?
I agree. I'm a little bit scared because Mayor Duggan is also a master at that, that kind of interaction, we'll just say, with city council members. But I agree. I'm really, really thrilled. We get 6 out of 9 new ones. Plus Mary Sheffield is already,
Exactly
progressive. So that's really 7 out of 9.
And James Tate is sometimes voting with progressives. He's definitely an independent. He doesn't seem to be bought and paid for, which leaves only one. But I think that in addition to that,
who also came through the University of Warren Connor.
Okay, you don't have to always point out every connection. But
oh my goodness!
Thank you, Maggie. Eastside. No, I think that is important to look at the history of Detroit's politics through a we always look back through rose-colored glasses. That's what people do. But, when Marianne Mahaffey, when Irma Henderson was the city council chair, she was no president. She was not an easy vote for Coleman Young. No. And she held his feet to the fire. We don't think about some of the big fights that took place in his era with city council being on the opposite side and making demands. And those demands were sometimes done politely, and sometimes, people got a little heated, and that's okay. That's how government can work and function. I've been doing a lot of research as part of my teaching. I'm learning. And so, the incinerator, that was Mayor Young who brought the incinerator to Detroit. And it was not a good deal then, and then sold it within a couple of years to Philip Morris.
Yep.
They were going to kill us, poison our lungs one way or another, cigarettes or incinerator smoke. That was, take your pick. But there were fights. There were real fights in the community. I don't think that there's a problem with city council really challenging a mayor. That's what keeps them honest. That's the reason why you have divided government.
Three branches.
Yeah. They're not supposed to be what's been happening. And I don't think it's going to happen again. I think they're going to ask a lot of good questions. I'm not sure if it will be as much fun for him to govern in this new world, but he is an effective communicator, and so perhaps he will change. And maybe Comrade Mallet, to bring this full circle, is a nod to this new reality that he's got to bring in somebody who definitely knows how to work more effectively with Black people and with the Black community than the guy who's just left.
Yeah. The other thing that's making hot takes this week, and we missed the opportunity to talk about this last week, is this saga out of Oxford High School, and these parents, James and Jennifer Crumbly. Donna, who the police? I said it. Police caught down the street from my house.
Yep, right there at Bellevue and Lafayette. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
Where I am, Maggie. But no, like down the street, right down the street.
The only part that made me really angry about that is like, they said they felt unsafe, so they came to the east side of Detroit where they were really unsafe. And it's like, are you kidding me? Have you been over there? They're going to stand out like sore thumbs, the white people over there. I'm like, do you not know there's white people all over that area? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Oh, that whole thing, I don't know. I mean, I had some mixed emotions. I was proud of the way the new police chief handled, the announcement and all that sort of stuff. Proud of the way that somebody came forward and said, oops, the car that you're looking for is there, blah, blah, blah. But oh my God.
Tawana Petty said that James and Jennifer Crumbly are going to learn just why Detroit is the highly surveilled, highest surveilled city in the state.
That is true.
We got shots fired. We got everything here. There's nowhere you can hide.
No, that's good.
Doesn't it make you wonder what were they thinking? I don't.
People say that they were trying to escape to Canada.
Canada won't let them in.
Oh, I know, but there's been all these conspiracies. Maybe they were going to escape by boat. I think they panicked. I think they left. I think that they were in hiding, and quite honestly, I don't think there's going to be a lot of sympathy for them anywhere, because people have tried to compare this to Kyle Rittenhouse, but this is not going to go the Rittenhouse way.
On a more serious note, it's unfortunate that it's Michigan's turn to deal with a school mass shooting of this sort. I mean, Oxford High School, there 4 young folks were killed in this shooting, and 7 others were injured, including a teacher. And the son, Ethan Crumbly, is now facing first-degree murder and terrorism charges for his actions on that day. And so,
as an adult, he's being charged as an adult.
As an adult, right? And that's a whole other conversation. And we could talk about the strategy of this prosecutor in going after Ethan as an adult, as well as Ethan's parents. And me being overseas and seeing videos, our governor had to release a special message. We've seen this happen in other states. We haven't really seen it happen here. How do you all feel about how this is being handled politically and by the prosecutor's office?
I think I like her better than Jessica Cooper, but I could not have liked Jessica Cooper less. I think that she is very passionate, and I think that she has a lot of, and I think that she's tried to do some good things when I've read about her. There are a lot of people who say, listen, I thought that we weren't looking at 15-year-olds as adults, and now all of these people who are pushing for that are now really excited that we're looking at him as an adult. It always feels like people want to change the rules when white people commit crimes. If you're going to still prosecute anybody as an adult, he has to be prosecuted as an adult. If you're going to change the law, change it. But if anybody gets to be an adult, somebody who planned and executed, went to a school and shot at point blank various people in the school, has to be treated like an adult. Because how can you justify any other shooter who may have just had gotten upset with somebody or whatever, but killed one person or 2 people? How can you justify it when you have actual act of terror where young people, will be forever terrorized and traumatized by what happened? I was glad that he was charged with terror, because usually white kids aren't seen as terrorists. That's what Black and, Arab kids or, people of color are terrorists. White people have mental health issues. So I thought that was even-handed. And quite frankly, I thought the parents were, criminally responsible for purchasing him a gun.
I agree.
Taking him shooting, bragging about it, and knowing that he had those mental health challenges and still had access to that gun and not taking him home. That's criminal negligence to me. So I think that she did the right thing. I think that the school needs to be held accountable. Probably there's going to be civil charges as opposed to criminal charges, because it's hard to see how you criminalize behavior. But I think that there will be some civil penalties that school is going to face for failure to report risk factors.
Yeah. So I agree with Donna. But I think what bothers me more than anything else is how in the other school shootings, we at least saw some kind of a public outcry about gun control, and more gun restrictions. And as frustrating as it is, because so little action has been taken, at least the words were still out there. People were in the streets. There was the discussion. There was the debate. This feels really quiet to me.
This is Michigan, and Michigan is a gun-loving state. We are a gun-loving state. Why wouldn't it happen here? We are, open carry. We have people open carrying in a state capital, threatening state people, and people that they didn't even want to shut that down. And so there's no political shits to be made. People just say, well, guns don't kill people, people kill people. You can't control guns. Let's look at other things. So I think that really what you see has been just the complete victory for, the NRA in Michigan, the home of the Michigan militia. We're just a gun culture, and it's exposed. You saw Kyle Rittenhouse went to another state, killed people, didn't even get charged with a gun crime. So you have to ask yourself, who is America? Step back and ask yourself, who is America? You absolutely know that, a Black kid doing exactly what Kunta Rittenhouse would not have been, charged with a crime. He would be dead.
Yeah.
So he would be dead.
Well, if he was walking down the street.
Look, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, if a Black kid was walking down that street during that protest carrying an AR-15, oh my God,
he would be dead.
He would be dead. There is no doubt about it.
He would not have had a chance to raise it. And when he died, the NRA would be silent. And all of those people who were saying, you know what, he's just a kid, would be silent. So I step back and I ask myself, what does this say about who we are? Because I keep hearing, this is not who we are. But I keep seeing this is who we are.
No, it is who we are.
So let's acknowledge that and then try to change it.
That's the political messaging. And I think it's going to really come back and haunt the Democratic Party in these midterm elections that's going to happen next year, because the political messaging after something like this happens is now, for those folks who are progressive and want to see actionable change, tangible change on the pavements of their neighborhoods, are tired of thoughts and prayers and are tired of this messaging of this is not who we are, because that to me speaks to a gross negligence of acknowledging the reality that is racist America, that is gun-toting, gun-loving America. This is who we are. You need to be able to name that as a person running for elective office or are in elective office, and talk about and figure out how to reform that. Donna, you said something that was interesting to me, and I want to get both of your takes on this. You said if he was Kunta Rittenhouse, the outcome would have been different. Well, since the Oxford shootings, schools all over the state of Michigan, including within the Detroit Public School Community District, has been experiencing threats. I don't know if they're credible threats that have shut down school buildings because of students making threats that may or may not be credible on social media. And the intel that I'm getting out of the Detroit Public School Community District is that, there's going to be dire consequences. There's going to be, expulsion, and these kids will not be able to come back for making threats, whether or not they're credible or not. And Kim Worthy, the Wayne County prosecutor, actually said that there would be zero tolerance for.
There's always zero tolerance for us. I'm sorry.
And that is precisely the point and the nuance that I want to carry in this conversation, because if you are a kid who makes a Black kid who makes a stupid decision in the form of a joke, I'm going to shut down the school, I'm going to threaten the school. We don't know if these threats were credible or not. You get the book thrown at you. You get a prosecutor that has no problem. Well, as an adult, and sending you in jail. So go ahead.
With Kyle Rittenhouse, nobody was saying he should have gone to jail because he drew those pictures.
Yeah.
People said he should have had a mental health intervention.
Yeah.
People said his locker should have been searched, his book bag should have been searched. So nobody said he should have gone to prison. The idea that you're going to prosecute and criminalize children who are accused of making threats. Now, I haven't seen the threats. I don't know. Have you seen them? Because I haven't seen evidence. I just keep hearing about kids getting arrested, and this is what we do to make people feel safe. Remember in Roxbury, when there was this threat of this woman this white man said that his wife had been killed, and they rounded up all the Black boys, and they said, because this is what we do. A white person commits a crime, and Black people pay the consequences. And this is what's happening right now. I'm not worried about Kyle Rittenhouse being tried as an adult. I'm worried about Black kids being criminalized because of Kyle Rittenhouse's behavior. In all of the school shootings in America that we've had, these mass shootings, Black kids aren't doing it. But we are free to serve our kids up. And then we're saying they're making these threats. I don't know what happened. Somebody could have said, yes, I wish somebody would shoot up my school, and that's a threat. Somebody would say, sometimes I feel like just whatever, and that's a threat. And I'm not saying it's ever okay. It just seems to me like, I'm saying Rittenhouse, I mean Crumbley, Ethan Crumbley. Right.
Yeah, it's a nuance that I think not a lot of people know how to carry in conversation. And I want to name that in this conversation, right?
Can we say that every kid who is seen making a threat should have a mental health evaluation? Could we do that?
Let's start there.
We have an evaluation as opposed to a criminal response. How about you see a social worker and send a social worker in, like everybody said Ethan Crumbley needed? I've never heard anybody saying he should have gone to jail because he drew that picture and made a threat. And all I'm saying is, why does he need a social worker and we need police?
And we need to be treating if there are going to be multiple threats, copycat threats, then take all of them as seriously as you're taking all the other ones, instead of differentiating. I mean, how is it that school did not search that kid's book bag after the parents were called into the school, right? And yet, let's say in Detroit public schools, a perceived threat is going to be viewed as, much more of a hazard. So
our school district
crazy.
Our school district has a whole police department.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah,
From what I've heard, they're getting rid of the police department. Okay. And some people are complaining because sworn officers are no longer going to be in Detroit public schools. I only know this because of my Facebook information. So some people are complaining, saying, hey, wait a minute, after Ethan Crumbley, how could you do this? I don't know that the sworn officers have kept Detroit safe. I'm not an expert at that, but I do think this. I do think that if we are a society that asks when a Black kid makes a threat, has he been bullied? Did something happen at home? Are we concerned about him and his mental health? And are we looking for a reason other than he's bad, which is the shortcut explanation for Black kids? I think we'll be getting somewhere, because I really think that the Crumbley needed an evaluation. He may have needed to be detained in the hospital. He said, there's no hope for me. And if somebody poses a threat to self or others, sometimes you can have them on a 24-hour hold while somebody's evaluating them.
For sure.
That would be my preferred intervention.
For sure.
And taking it seriously. That's the part that just drives me crazy. I don't know. It just makes me crazy. That and the conspicuous absence of any kind of outcry. It makes me sad and furious.
I know we got to move on, but I'm wondering if folks are tired of outcrying and nothing changes. I mean,
well, that's the implication. That's what makes me so sad and so furious. There's just this sense of so that's what happens. It's normal. It's just very, very, very sad.
Yeah. We will definitely be following this story, and we'll update you in future segments of Hot Takes. But that's going to wrap this one up. If you have pieces that you want to discuss on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. And today, for our feature discussion this week, we are talking to Maggie DeSantis of Building the Engine of Community Development in Detroit. She is the survivor of the C, survivor of cancer, survivor of COVID, and is now the recipient of one good C, good compensation. Maggie, And this is straight off the dome. This is off the dome. Maggie, first off, welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about the latest happenings with building the engine. Last week, and folks can go back and hear it on the last episode of Authentically Detroit, there was a forum sponsored by the Systems Capitalization Task Force out of the Building the Engine process to talk about building power in neighborhoods. How did that come about? How was that bubbling up as a topic for the forum when we're talking about capitalizing, resourcing a community development system in Detroit?
And how does power building fit into that? It's a great question, Orlando. So, and the System Capitalization Task Force, can you find a different name for that? Because that's a really crappy name. But the point is the task force commissioned some research and a paper on what equity-centered community development should look like. And so we asked one of our consultants, Garland Yates, to put that paper together. And he talked with a number of people. He scanned some equity-centered community development best practices. And one of the things he developed a list of investment principles that foundations should be paying attention to when they think about investing in communities in order to facilitate more equitable practices. Mm-hmm. And some of the investment principles were predictable, right? Invest in organizations for the long term, kind of like the way the Erb Family Foundation invested in ECN for so many years. Invest in a local infrastructure. But the really, really important point in the paper was that he urged foundations to invest in power building, which basically means investing in building leaders, investing in building movements, because that work doesn't come cheap. It deserves as many resources as other kinds of work. And it's the only way we're going to equalize the playing field. So, here in Detroit, we have a community benefits ordinance that is okay. It's better than not having any community benefits ordinance, but the power balance is really way off. And so the idea of power building was to say, if we want to equalize the playing field so that the collective resident leadership in a neighborhood is an equal partner with corporations who are coming in with foundations, if we're going to say that, then what does power building really look like? It's a scary concept for a lot of people. And so we wanted to just have that conversation. What does power building really look like? But we wanted also to have voices of community development in the mix, because we know that historically there's been some tension, some kind of a divide between community development and social justice work. We wanted to have a government perspective in the mix. So we had Antoine Bryan, and then we wanted philanthropy in the conversation. So how does power building relate to system capitalization? If you're going to have an equitable community development system, then all the aspects of the system have to be properly resourced, including the process of building power inside neighborhoods and building power for social justice.
I have a question though. You said that it's better, the community benefits that we have is better than nothing. So what do you think we got out of the FCA community benefits agreement that's better than nothing?
Well, I mean, this is not to say that the ordinance is good, honestly. I mean, I think the forced negotiation is better than no negotiation.
But was there negotiation? I think the pretense of negotiation is actually worse than no negotiation, because the pretense of negotiation gave the mayor power to say to city council, you can't negotiate because these 9 people already figured it out in 6 weeks in a process that we directed. Therefore, you have to go along with whatever they said. And it feels to me as though that was the opposite of power building. And also community development organizations had no power and no say at the negotiating table. So I agree with you on everything, but I think that we also have to examine how the pretense of power sometimes can be worse than none at all.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. And I would say, I mean, I know there are efforts underway right now to improve the community benefits ordinance, but just to force major players to a table I still say it's an important step. How it's played out, oh my God, it's been so uneven. It's been so disappointing on so many levels, whether you're talking about the Herman Kiefer CBA or the Stellantis CBA. What are some of the other major ones that have been negotiated?
Yeah, I just don't think that they forced negotiation. I think they forced the pretense of negotiation. I don't think there was negotiation.
Yeah, that's probably true. But there, at least there was some conversation about it. Maybe some.
But they're having a meeting today. They'll be talking about what they did and they accomplished. I don't know. I think the conversation could be more powerful if community development organizations all organized together and made demands on them and said, you know what? But now we're in a position where it felt like what happened with that was the city, because back in the day, Maggie, you made demands on people. You didn't sit back while a bunch of unelected people got appointed to negotiate. You were the one at the table making demands.
That was the Save Our Spirit Coalition. Yeah, it
right.
wasn't just me. It was a whole bunch of folks.
I'm saying.
Yeah,
right. I'm saying
we had no real leverage. That was so frustrating. No real leverage whatsoever.
And I had no leverage.
I know that's true. I know that's true. That was very, very frustrating.
I had no leverage, no power, no input. And so, one of the things I'm interested in is the Maggie DeSantis kind of power. You know what I mean? The truth to power.
I don't know.
Where you made your name. You know what I'm saying? I think that as we look forward to power, we need some of that in our community development industry. We're always trying to negotiate and trying to work with folks, and they have all the cards.
Well, I think that sort of speaks to, the statement and some of the findings in the paper that Garland wrote about power building so that everybody is equal at the table. And but for me, that carries a certain kind of tension. Number one, I want to name that in the city of Detroit, we can't talk about power building without acknowledging race. And
yes, that's right.
the systemic and policy driven stripping away of wealth from Black people from years and years and years. And of course, we equate numbers with power, and we equate money with power. And so now that we are under a lot of pressure in certain neighborhoods for, real catalytic corporate investment in areas where residents aren't as wealthy as we used to be and aren't as organized as we used to be, where do we even begin the conversation about coming to the table as equals and having the leverage to really make demands on anybody, corporations, public, the public municipal government, any community development organizations, anybody who wants to do any kind of development, enact any kind of change in our neighborhoods?
Yeah. Well, I think you guys know the answer to that as well as anyone. Orlando, you talk about this a lot, and we wrote about it in that last publication that we did before I left. It's education, translation. It's what ECN does so well. You're constantly putting out information, constantly talking about what complicated concepts really mean, and then constantly setting up situations where, people in power can be in the same room with residents. I think that's where it starts. I mean, it's so cliche to say information is power, but it's so true. It is just so true. So I think that's where it does start. And that's always been kind of the philosophy, I think, that Warren Connor and then ECN used. You educate. And it happened in the LEAP planning process when people had an opportunity to have complicated concepts about land use and urban planning and green infrastructure explained to them, and they could ask questions, and they could feel like they were sitting at a same table with technicians who were answering their questions. It was amazing what happened as a result of that. truly amazing. So I actually think it's not rocket science. It's just a very, very tough process.
Well, some things that aren't rocket science to you are a little bit more difficult for other people to understand. So, I think that you make the complex. I was really proud to, in my class, Orlando, the day before we had that, Orlando was a speaker in my class. And you know what the topic
Yeah,
was?
I know.
You know what the topic was? Building power.
Oh my gosh.
And it was, listen, it was not just the topic because you had that is in the curriculum. That's the second to last class is building power, right?
Oh,
So we
wow,
go through all the problems when we get to power building, and Orlando did such a fabulous job. I could just, sometimes you talk to him every day, but he did such a fabulous job. And it's like, wow, you get to see how smart he really is. So that was so great. I loved it. But one of the things he did was he referenced that book. And so yesterday was my final class, and students had to present their projects, because everybody has to do a project to fix problems in Detroit. That's how you get your grade. And so how many students referenced that book?
Oh, wow.
Yes, Neighborhoods First. They all referenced it in one way or another and really understood it. So that was really exciting to me to see how they incorporated that even within 1 week. But you make it's always seemed obvious to you, but I don't know if it's always been obvious to other people, number one. Number two, one of the things that you did was extremely powerful was MacArthur Square. You started buying real estate, and you never asked permission to do things. You just did them. It was like, if I do this, they're going to have to let me do this, right?
Yeah. And that is true. We couldn't ask permission. In fact, we had to come up with responses to the question about why are you doing this? This will never work. Not enough people live here. Not enough people have enough money to shop at the shopping center. Gross Pointers will never cross Alta Road and come to an Aldi. Are you crazy?
And yet, so look at all the power you built. And I think that that's one of the ways. And then one of the ways that you build power, and I think Orlando referenced that earlier, was Warren County University, where you look all over the city of Detroit in philanthropy, in government, in nonprofits, in social enterprises. How many people have you graduated from Warren County University, either graduated, by force or by choice?
Volunteered or voluntold. One of the two. Yeah, a lot of people seem to, I don't know, what was it about that place? There was an energy. I think there was a sense that we didn't have to ask permission. In fact, I credit Angela Wilson, who is the second person I ever hired, and who was so inspirational. She always used to say, we are doing this because no one else is doing it for us, so we have to do it for ourselves. She was basically saying we don't need permission, and I think that was really compelling for me. I learned so much from so many people who worked there, but we never did feel like we had to ask permission. One of the great examples of that, right after we formed, is when Coleman Young proposed putting a prison right next to Samaritan Health Center, and I immediately got a phone call from Samaritan Health Center, because they really had loaned us office space, basically saying, so when is the board going to take a position against the prison? And my answer was, I don't know. It's not my decision. I don't know if they're against it. So I'll call you later. Bye, and hung up. And we ended up deciding to go visit prisons and to go see what it was really like, and to try to understand, what value or not there was. And so we took hundreds of people around to 3 different prisons in the state, and then did a lot of forums and a lot of surveying. And the end result was a split in the community. Half the people we surveyed didn't want the prison, half wanted the prison. They saw jobs, they saw closer proximity to loved ones. And so we found out later, that was the first time that we ever really, really pissed off Coleman Young. We found out later that he was mad because we failed to ask his permission to go to the state ask the state to sponsor the tours, or to just, conduct any kind of, discovery or research about it. So that was that was the first example. It was a great lesson for me.
Well, here's another one. I wasn't there for that, but I was there when Hope 6 came along and they were going to demolish Parkside Homes.
Yep.
And you pulled up a study group. People got together, and of all of the public housing communities that were targeted, Parkside, the Villages of Parkside, is the one that's standing and still kind of occupied. I mean, not fully occupied, but it outlasted all of them. And I have to believe that it was that kind of power building that made a difference. It was that decision. We're going to fight this. We're not accepting. No, we know this is what HUD wants. We know this is what they're saying, that somehow we want to deconcentrate poverty, but people need a place to stay. And so you pulled people together and helped figure that out.
Yeah.
Another great example is the Chandler Park Promise Coalition. Can you talk about how that formed? When you had somebody come to town and they said, see, I really think, as much as I really enjoyed everything, I was like, Maggie needs to get off her hind seat. She needs to be giving this class on building power, because Chandler Park Promise Coalition is such a great example.
Yeah, it really is. Am I allowed to say which institution?
Absolutely.
Well, so
I mean, you listen to our show?
Yes, I do. I always feel a little bit bad, but I'm just going to tell the truth. So the Salvation Army came to Detroit. They're based in Southfield, and announced that they wanted to build 100,000 square foot, $20 million community center in some place in Detroit. So once again, I got the phone call from Samaritan Health Center. Mm-hmm. We need to jump on this. We need to see if we can get it here. So we pulled together some people. We raised a little bit of money and paid for a feasibility study to find some sites. And the top site that was recommended was Chandler Park, right? So we persuaded Salvation Army that they should build this community center at Chandler Park. They asked us to help them with the publicity and the fundraising. Whoops, is Orlando okay? There he is.
Yeah, he just had to get his charger.
Okay, and so we proceeded onward, right? They were this community center was gonna be built. They announced it. They had Kwame Kilpatrick there, blah, blah, blah. And, oh God, I remember the day. It was April 17th. I got a phone call from the Salvation Army basically saying that they were pulling out and they were not going to build a community center at Chandler Park. And I have never, ever experienced that kind of anger from this coalition of people who had come together, because they made a promise to us, right? And it felt so amazing, because 48213, you know this. Chandler Park neighborhood has been ignored. Chandler Park has been ignored. Yeah. Marlo Studemeyer used to call it Scandler Park, that it was so scary, when he was a kid, that people stopped going there. Yeah. So this coalition of people, they just said, no. Salvation Army, you don't want us, forget it. We're going to do something ourselves. And once again, without asking permission.
Without packing us all up on a bus first, driving to
Yes, that is true. We on bus rides.
Yelling at them.
We did. So one of the things they decided to do was to try to get the Salvation Army to change their mind. But at the very least, we figured we would make them feel really bad for what they did to us. So we packed 150 people onto 3 buses, including 50 kids. And we drove all the way to Chicago to their regional headquarters, and we held this big protest. Oh my God, that wasn't really an amazing day. But the fact that the real pushback was when it was the community. Yes. We were kind of like the instrument at that point. The community said, no, we're going to do this ourselves. And we persuaded the Kellogg Foundation to fund a planning process, and the Chandler Park Promise Coalition was formed. One of the more fun things we did when we were so mad at the Salvation Army is we went, this is funny, we went to the tree lighting ceremony, the annual downtown tree lighting ceremony, where the big red bucket is lit up. And we basically had hundreds of wooden nickels that we had them made. And I think we put Chandler Park Promise Coalition on the wooden nickels, and we just infiltrated the sign-in ceremony and started dropping wooden nickels into the buckets that they had around there, and it had signs. What?
That's my kind of petty. I love that.
Right, exactly. It is.
Oh.
It's such a great story. And then now look where Chandler Park is now. You pulled
Oh, my
together
goodness.
an organization. When you didn't change your mind, you pulled together an organization. Let me ask you, how much money has this organization raised so far?
We're at about 8 million right now, not counting, the operations cost for the organization. 8 million out of a $20 million ideal vision.
Yeah.
And then when the city, I think the city has committed to putting a community center in Chandler Park, right?
Yeah. And
Is it going to, do you know how much it's going to cost?
Have no idea. We're still working out the details there. But at one point, you guys remember the Chandler Park golf course was going to be shut down. Remember the mayor set up a committee? Well, Alex and I kind of infiltrated that committee, and we got the mayor to Chandler Park and just sort of double teamed him and just kept up the pressure. And then the next thing we knew, they were announcing that Chandler Park golf course was going to be saved. It was going to be the Eastside golf course. So yeah, really some amazing things have happened at Chandler Park, but it all started with Salvation Army basically betraying our trust in them. And people were just tired of it. They were just tired of it. So
I was at the Harvard Summer Leadership Institute in 2001, and Dr. Evelyn Higginbottom was my professor, one of the teachers. It was a 2-week course. It was an amazing immersion course. And she talked about, Black history. And she talked about the post-Reconstruction era, which we all know is a dark time in American history. It's a time when you had so much going on, all of the lynchings and, people losing their land. And it followed all of these promises from government, right? But what she pointed out was during this time, it was the most productive time for business development in the history of the Black community. That's when Black pharmacies were formed. That's when grocery stores, savings and loans, cemeteries, hospitals were built. Detroit at one time had 11 hospitals. So there's something to be said about power not coming from institutions that disempower you. Like, you can't be the problem and the solution. If this government disempowers Detroit, Black people in Detroit, how can this government fix it? And so it seems like we want to sometimes believe that we can have these processes where we partner with government, public-private partnership, but big money will always win. I love it when you go outside of that and do something and create something and persuade government to get involved, because you've given them an argument they can't refuse. And that seems to be a Maggie DeSantis specialty.
Yeah, I don't think I'm the only one with that specialty, but
but you're here today. You're our guest today, and we want to honor you.
We're talking about you. I think you understand that a long time ago that you can't make or put a moral imperative on systems that are just completely immoral. You have to be the change that you want to see.
Yeah,
so
that is true. Yeah.
I want you to give us a little bit of news and a little bit of update on the building the engine of community development process. It's been a process that's been going on since 2016. Yep. What's getting ready to happen now?
Well, so we have spent 5 years building out what we call the 7 system elements. And, we always knew that it was a temporary process, that once the people who were, the collective felt like the system was built, that it needed to have a permanent home. So, and Donna actually has been a faithful member of the steering committee for that effort. And Orlando, you served on one of the task forces. So we came to a point in 2020, where the steering committee decided that it was time to look at CDAD, Community Development Advocates of Detroit, for the permanent home. And so we started on a process. It was not easy. At times it was painful, on a process to try to figure out how to make that happen. But we are at the point now, on June 15th of 2021, the steering committee and the CDAD board both voted to move the building the engine work inside CDAD. So we are in the process now. It means that the system work will have a permanent home. I don't know if it will always be called building the engine, because I mean, we chose that name to imply that it was, not something permanent. It wasn't an institutional name that we gave it. So it may not always have that same name, but hopefully the system work will continue. So for example, and this is one of the things, Don has been involved in this too. One of the system elements that we're building out that is near and dear to my heart is a leadership pipeline for community development work in the city. We're working with young people as young as middle school, all the way up through elders. And that has been really an amazing process of building all these partnerships with DPSCD and Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation and a couple of universities. And that part is starting to come together. We just picked up our first two relatively significant grants for the pilot process. So that's part of the system approach to it, is to build a leadership pipeline. And then we are working, and ECN again is a part of this. We are working on a project called Rebuilding Home Together. And the idea there is to create a sustainable system for community development organizations to be able to do deeply affordable single family home ownership work. So we're working on a financing model. The CHN Housing Partners is sort of coordinating the group, working on trying to figure out the best way to acquire the homes, the best source for the homes, working to build support so that the CDOs that are doing the rehab can build their own internal capabilities in order to do that housing rehab. So that is very, very exciting. We just held a meeting today with some foundations, a couple of CDFIs and a couple of banks to talk about this innovative financing model. Mm-hmm. So those are just two examples of some of the work that's been going on. So it's been quite a process. It's been a big, complicated process. But I think to break it down into 7 system pieces and try to work on each piece and then try to bring it together has been the recipe for success for it. So to see it moving into a permanent home is pretty exciting. It's really pretty exciting. So
it is. And so you're on to, but you're also doing other things, right?
I am.
So, in fact, you're doing other things with somebody, with both of us actually, but you're doing other things with ECN. What are you doing with us?
Well, for you guys, I guess I'm just sort of doing what I do. I am helping to organize the planning process so that we end up with an amazing plan for the Stoudemire. So again, it's a classic ECN project. There are a bajillion moving parts, right? There are amazing people who are at the table planning it. There is a visionary who's going to make it happen, and that is Donna, most definitely. And the momentum that's building up is amazing. And the Stoudemires, I think that's really, really wonderful to see Valencia and the family really, really in support of it. So yeah, that's been fun. You guys are working me to death on that one, but it's been really, really fun and really amazing. Talk about the butterfly effect. Mm-hmm. Because I know the Stoudemire is just one. I'm just now understanding that the Stoudemire is just one example of a network of resiliency hubs that is going up. So, I mean, the vision is really, truly amazing. So
this is one of those grants where it's kind of amazing. We got this grant and from Institute for Sustainable Communities to create a resilience hub. I heard about them. I thought it was really cool. We're going to turn our space into a resilience hub and just, sort of like an emergency shelter in time of emergency, but you're not really using it for that every day, which is not fully the resilience hub concept, but our building was mostly leased out. So we said, okay, we need to do other places. And we said, brilliant, Detroit. And the concept was we were going to create a network of hubs nested in neighborhoods and to have the Office of Sustainability really champion that. And because that's how you get the government's buy-in, is to have the Office of Sustainability championing and bringing in, foundation money. It looks like we're going to get some big foundation grants to support that work, where we will really model on the East Side how to protect people in the event of an emergency. So really what you're doing, Maggie, is really creating this innovative piece so that it's a resilience hub, but it's more than that. We want it to be the kind of place that people want to be, to hang out. We want it to be the living room of the East Side, where people know this is just a place I can hang out and be. Because, honestly, if I had $1 million, take way more than that, $1 trillion, I would fix up every home in the neighborhood so nobody had to live in inadequate housing, but we can't do that. But you always hate to think, when I worked at Vanguard, I remember it was like super cold days. And I knew some of my kids didn't have heat. And I went home to a hot, warm house, drove a warm car to a warm house. And I thought about those kids being in houses with no heat. And I would just, a cold emergency day, and I'm thinking about my kids with no heat, And so to be able to have a place where people who don't have heat can come in a cold emergency day really, really means a lot. And I have to say that I am so happy that you're the one to come and do this work. It really is full circle. This is the completion of that circle, where we've got to have something in our community that gives people a place to build power and to have power, and I want to honor you in this way too. When I left Warren Connor in 19, because for those of you who are listening and don't know, Maggie hired me in 1993. What she did was, I applied for a job, and she called me in and she says, well, I'm not going to give you that job because we found somebody else for that job, but I have something else I want you to look at. And she gave me this green book. And she says, it was either the brown book or the green book.
It was the brown book was the first one.
The brown book, and she says, read this. And I read it, and it was like just singing. I was like, wow, I want to do this. And it was the Partnership for Economic Independence. And so I worked at Warren Connor with the Partnership for Economic Independence. And then I left and I did other things. When I left there, one of the things I did was I was executive director at Vanguard Community Development Corporation. I was the first executive director. And then I came back in 2016 to run Eastside Community Network. Maggie stepped down. But it's really interesting to me when I reflect back on my time, because even though I was not executive director, you did promote me to deputy director for programs. I had more power working for you than I had even when I was running my own organizations. That's what power is. You not only built power for the organization, you gave power to some people, and I'm one of the beneficiaries. Not everybody, because I'm not going to say everybody found you easy to work with.
Oh, no, almost nobody found me easy to work with.
But you gave me power. You empowered me. And I appreciate that. And so I'm saying right now in Authentically Detroit that I was a 32-year-old woman who came to work for you, and you gave me power. You gave me a sense of the ability to make change. You had created this framework. And when I came back to Warren Connor, Eastside Community Network, you changed the name and then handed it over. Nobody's like, who's Eastside Community Network? Warren Connor anyway. When I came back in 2016, it was almost like I had never left.
Yeah.
The power was still there. The institutions were still there, the framework and the community connections. And so, we have a debt of gratitude, a lifetime, where we may not always agree on everything, but I absolutely honor you.
Thank
for
you.
Not just what you've done for the East Side and what you've done and all these different things, but how you changed me personally and gave a young woman power. And the 32 was really young then. I thought I was old, but so thank you.
Oh, no, it was my pleasure and my honor. I think that's somehow that was the culture at the organization. But I was hard on people, no question about it. Orlando can testify to that. But I kind of felt like, I think people who knew me and understood knew that if I was hard on you, kind of like a coach, that was my way of paying you a compliment, because if I didn't know you had the potential, I wasn't going to bother. But if I could be around really smart people and could see the potential, I was going to batter you. until that potential just sort of blossomed out. And so there's a certain irony to it, because I did like to sort of open the door and let people walk through and just see what you could do. But I could be tough. I could be really tough.
I never really felt like you were tough on me.
Really? Oh my
No.
gosh.
No, I never really, I never had that experience with you.
You're about the only. Let me jump in on that.
Oh,
But one of the things, and we're at hour 25, guys. We got to go. We could talk all night, but one of Donna, the thing that you said that Maggie did for you, she did for so many people. But one of the things that I was thinking about as you were talking about the power that she shared and gave to you when you came into power in the organization, you did the exact same thing for me. The exact same thing for me, and elevated me to a place where the platform that I have now was able to be built. The foundation was built right at Eastside Community Network, giving me the opportunity to lead so many things in such a short amount of time. And so we were, and you are Maggie's mentee, because the exact same power that she shared with shared it with me. And so I think,
and you were rough on him too, weren't you, Donna? Weren't you rough?
Yeah, we had a little rough start, maybe a little rocky, maybe.
I think that I had to get to know Orlando.
Yeah, we had to get to know each other.
Because Orlando didn't report to me when I first got there, and so I had to get to know Orlando. You know what I mean? Because I think that was really probably the biggest thing, was really just trying to figure out who he was and where he came in, and because there were layers. And ultimately I had to remove the layers so that we could work together and be like, wow, this is really great. I came in reporting directly to you, and it created a difference. And Orlando was a little younger than I was when I came in. I had a little bit more experience, actually a lot more experience than Orlando, maybe 6 or 7 years experience by the time I got there. And that would have created a different entry point for me, Orlando, because it wasn't even my first time being second in command.
Yeah.
It's just that it was just a completely different thing.
And I gotta say, Donna, you didn't require much beating up on. You came in as one of the best writers I've ever seen. You could write a proposal like no one I ever saw. You are 5 times smarter than me, always have been. So I think it was, it was like, okay, this one just needs to have the door opened a little bit with a little shove.
Well, I appreciate. I don't think anybody's 5 times smarter than you, but I appreciate the compliment.
No, you really are. And so your talent for envisioning things is really amazing. And then you pass that on to Orlando, because Orlando, you've got those same qualities. There's just this no nonsense, say what you mean, don't BS around, shoot straight. That those kind of qualities are really rare. So
well, I'm on a podcast right now with 2 of my greatest teachers, and I am as happy as a pig is in slop to number one, to be able to I think that we have to do a better job of just stopping and honoring the people who mean so much to us, right? I think we're living in a time where life is but a vapor. We have learned that, and we cannot continue to let time go by and not say how much people mean to us and what they've been able to do for us. Both of you have been forerunners for so many people, but since I'm here, I'm going to say forerunners for me, bursting down doors so that I'm able to walk through with an air of confidence and shortness that I know what I'm talking about, and I know the community that I come from and the experience that I got is completely legit. It can hold up against anybody coming to do any kind of work or job in this city. So this is amazing. I love this.
Yeah, I know, it's fun, isn't it? Hanging out with you guys is really, can we like, oh, when this pandemic is over, we need to have just a night of wine and good food.
Yeah, well, we can do it before the pandemic's over.
We fully, all of us
I'm
are.
vaxxed and boosted, okay?
That's what I'm about to get boosted, thank goodness.
Oh yeah, get boosted.
Yeah, I have to. I had bad luck with the first shot, so I had to wait a little while. So
I remember that.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna get boosted.
It's time. It's time.
Maggie DeSantis, thank you so much for coming on Authentically Detroit. We can't wait to have you back.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was really my honor. I love you guys to death.
Yeah,
We love you
too.
Right back. It is time for shout outs. Donna, do you have any shout outs?
I want to shout out the Skillman Foundation. I really do. I
interview Angelique Tower one-on-one for the consulate, for Urban Consulate Confidential.
I saw that. That's great.
I can't wait.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's going to be awesome. So shout out to Angelique for sure. But listen, Panitha has just been amazing. Lauren has been great. Great team. Lindsay. Oh, see, no offense, Lindsay, because I get everybody's name wrong, even my kids, but Lindsay has been great. So that's my big shout out for today.
Yeah. Maggie, do you have any shout outs?
I'm trying to think. I have to say, I mean, the Skillman shout out is great. I have to shout out, Donna, the team at ECN. Every time we have one of these meetings to think about where to go next with the Stoudemire, I mean, the level of commitment and talent there at ECN is really amazing. So I want to shout them out.
Oh, I have to shout out Savannah Brewer.
Hey,
I have to shout out Aaron Stanley. And I have to shout out all the rest of the team. But we had 2 back-to-back events on Friday and then on Saturday, and they both did a stellar job. And then I have to shout out Savannah Brewer and Daryl Earl and Sherry Meadows and others who showed up yesterday. And when the power went out in our building, stayed and help people complete HOPE applications in the dark.
Oh my goodness.
I am
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Proud of our team and the way that our team steps up and just shows love to people. So yeah, I do want to shout them out.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, can I shout out Mr. Orlando too? Orlando is interviewing a bunch of community development organizations this week. You're doing it for Building the Engine, but I'm so happy that you're doing it. He's sending me these little texts while he's doing the interviews about how he feels about so and so and so and so. It's been a whole lot of fun. So
yeah, it is a lot of fun. I love it. And I want to shout out Bridge Detroit. Bridge Detroit will be releasing this week. You'll see it. I just finished a copy for it. Our second progress report on community priorities model, where we've had conversations with Detroiters about information that they want to see covered. And it's really powerful data, and I can't wait to share it with you all. I also want to say this, President Joe Biden, we watching you. We watching you.
I'm shouting him out.
We're not shouting him out, but I'm shouting out that we watching you. That wraps up this episode of Authentically Detroit. Thank you so much for listening. We want you to catch the wave.